Good day, everyone, and welcome to our webinar, Multi-Channel Commerce, Unlock Your Revenue Potential with Vigorate. If you have any questions throughout the webinar, feel free to type your questions into the side or tweet us at Vigorate using the hashtag DMEWebinar. Today's speakers are Michael Doe, Digital Project Manager at Vigorate, and Duncan Sinclair, Director of Digital Strategy and Business Development. And without further ado, I'm going to pass it off to Michael Doe.
Thanks, Joanne, and thank you everyone for attending today's webinar. Like Joanne mentioned, we will be talking about e-commerce today, and more specifically, how to do e-commerce through multiple channels. But as a quick overview of what we are going to cover during today's presentation, we're going to touch upon first what traditional e-commerce is, or what we understand traditional e-commerce to be. And then just to give some context into what we're going to talk about, we're just going to quickly touch upon, and this might be somewhat obvious, but what today's web use or web trends tend to be and how users are using the internet and where they're using it from. And then moving on to the benefits of using these new multi-channels. So increased accessibility, increased awareness, and more engagement from users. I'm now going to introduce Duncan Sinclair, who will touch upon traditional e-commerce.
Thanks, Mike, and thanks everyone for joining us today. It's Duncan Sinclair, Director of Digital Strategy and Business Development. So I'm going to talk a little bit about traditional e-commerce. So in its infancy, I think we saw companies and brands take their bricks and mortar stores and convert them to online, essentially providing a very similar experience and really just focusing on the desktop experience for users. So these are typically fairly deep experiences and more of a catalog experience for users. And as well, not having them optimized for smaller devices, which is obviously a more of a problem in today's world with so many devices for that users can really access your sites and brands online. So just a little bit about web trends. It's no secret that more and more users are accessing the web via mobile devices as well as tablets. So just some data for you. Global mobile data traffic grew 81% in 2013, and smartphone usage grew by 50%. What's interesting is what we're seeing over here at Vigorate for our specialty commerce sites, it's very similar. So 40% of web traffic on our commerce sites are actually coming from mobile, and we're also seeing a lot of tablet users as well.
Here's just a quick definition slide for the purpose of the presentation. Before we get into what new channels or multi-channels are, again, we're going to just talk about some examples of programs that we currently run for clients, and really speaking to, in terms of the channels, having the sites presented on mobile phones, tablets, and then within Facebook. Okay, and obviously, when we go through this, all the benefits of using multi-channels obviously relates to other networks or channels outside of those three. But again, for the purpose of the presentation, these are what we're going to speak to. Okay, so the first reason why you may want to start thinking about having your site available on different channels is really the accessibility of your site. Like Duncan talked about initially, the traditional e-commerce model is that you have one site, you're driving people to that site, mostly anchored to your desktop. But here, by creating, by making your site accessible through a mobile device or tablet device, you're bringing your site to the user wherever they are. Okay, so in a case where, for instance, you see here the example of NFL or NHL auctions, we made their site responsive, so it's presented nicely on a mobile device. And in this situation where bidding or buying may be time sensitive, they can actually do that from wherever they are. Okay, you're not losing out on that user because they're not in front of their desk, or in front of their desktop, or you're at home at the moment in which the purchase needs to be made.
And from an awareness standpoint, again, as we look at traditional e-commerce sites, it's at a single location, so you're driving traffic, your media is driving traffic to one single location. Well, in today's digital world, you look at all of these new environments popping up, and more specifically, we can look at social media. So Facebook's an obvious one with 1 billion registered users and a very large active audience of users every day. And then you look at more popular ones, gaining ground on Facebook, like Instagram, Pinterest, WhatsApp, so on and so forth. So what's interesting here is we now have these established environments on the web where traditional e-com can now look at that and say, hey, how do I take advantage of this engaged audience in these environments? So our feeling here is make your e-commerce sites or your e-commerce experience available in these environments, and you'll profit more and you'll drive more revenue because you'll have more eyeballs in front of your items or your services that are available online. So in an example from one of our clients, we do the Safeway e-auction, which is in partnership with Air Miles. This is really driven by their agency Promotivate. So this is the 4th iteration of this program that we've run for them. And the first 3 years it was very traditional sense that you could bid on auction items or purchase group buy items using your Air Miles points, which is pretty cool. But it was in one single location. So this year, and the promotion ends April 17, 2014. So if you have a chance, do take a look at it. We have provided the experience not only on one web location, and this would be all through responsive design, so available on mobile, but as well through their Facebook page. So as a Facebook application on Safeway Canada's Facebook page. So it's not only available on desktop in that sense within Facebook, but also Facebook mobile. And you look at Safeway Canada, they have over 150,000 fans. So getting this promotion in front of an active fan base that's already on Facebook, it just drives that awareness factor that should help drive revenue and more registrations for this type of program.
And that leads actually perfectly into the next slide, where Duncan just spoke about having more eyeballs in your program by using or by having your site exist on different networks or different channels. More eyeballs, more awareness usually leads to more engagement. So by having your site exist on desktop, mobile, tablet, Facebook, you're getting more eyes on it and broadening your engagement with users to your program. So specifically here, what we're showing you is the MLB auction site that we built, and what we like to call a networked model. So MLB being the hub, they own all the users, but then we've created sites for the different various teams. So a Boston Red Sox auction site, a Baltimore Orioles auction site, and all bidding activity to those sites are also reflected on the MLB auction site. So again, more users, more engagement, more bidding, more purchasing.
Then engagement can also be looked at an event level. So a good example of this are sporting events where you have fans in seats that are experiencing the sporting event itself, very excited, very engaged in the day, and all the excitement that's around them. So actually having these types of programs available exclusively to this audience. So one example of that would be, imagine yourself at a baseball game and having a signed jersey from the pitcher of that day available for auction, and then making that exclusive to that specific audience. So, and then using the various media outlets that are available in stadium to really drive this. I mean, you couldn't have a better stage for a customer, when it comes to this type of engagement.
So just to further that, if you can picture, the live event silent auction, or you have those tables selling memorabilia at events, you're really digitizing that whole experience because you have your site available on a mobile device. And we can use different tactics or strategies to isolate that purchase or bidding activity for that specific audience. But again, the idea is because it's accessible on that channel or device, you're able to have people who are engaged in that moment come to your site right away and make that purchase or bidding or whatever activity it is that you're trying to get them to do. And so very quickly recapping what we just talked about, I think it's fairly obvious now after that by leveraging multi-channels, so Facebook, mobile, tablet, desktop. The idea is that you're going to increase accessibility, drive more awareness to your program because you are taking that program to where users already exist, and then because you're doing those two things, driving more engagement to your program. And again, engagement can be either broad, having it accessible to more users, or more eyeballs, as we said previously, or narrowing it specifically to a target audience because, again, the technology makes that easily done. So in the end, with all that, the hope is to drive more revenue to your site.
Thank you, Duncan and Mike. That was great. We did have a few questions come in, but in respect to everyone's time, we're just going to get to a couple of them, and we'll make sure that we post the rest of our questions on the digital marketing blog, and we'll place the link on our LinkedIn company page. So the first question that came in, for your current clients or for brands who already have a commerce website, do you currently build multiple sites to allow for this mobile capability?
I can handle that one. No, traditional model again. In the past, if you wanted a site for your mobile device before responsive design, you build two separate sites, so one for your desktop and then one for your mobile phone. But now, these days with HTML5, we typically build only one site for our clients, and that site will reconfigure and display properly depending on the width and the size of the device. And the benefit there is that, again, it's one site to manage. It's not two sites. It's all tied into the same database or back end. So, again, you don't have to worry about that. And, so the short answer is no, we don't typically build separate sites anymore. But the option is there if that is favored.
All right, great. And the next question, for an event-based promotion, how do you limit the activity to that specific event?
I guess I'll field this one. The easiest way is through unique PIN codes. So distribute a PIN code via ticket or communicate it via the available media outlets in stadium or at event. And then we can validate it or make it only available to those people that have that PIN code. The more, I guess, robust and more costly way would be some kind of geolocation. So limiting it by, knowing that the people that are in the stadium or at the event can only access it through a geolocator. That's a little trickier.
All right, great, thank you. That's it for today's webinar. We will be posting a full recording on our archived webinars page, and we want to thank everyone for attending, and have a great day.
Woo! Yeah.